All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Adrena Gibson. I am the Director of the Division of Small Business Opportunity, and I would like to welcome you all to our Citywide Mentor-Protégé Program information session. Next slide, please. Sarah, can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. Oh, looks like we lost it. I'm having, perfect, thank you so much. So before we begin, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. Since this is a regular Teams meeting, please be sure to stay on mute unless you are called upon to speak. We also advise that you stay off camera to save bandwidth and avoid distracting other participants. If you have any questions or comments, place it in the chat box or use the hand raise function. Additionally, this meeting is being recorded and attendees will receive this presentation after the session. Next slide, please. The Q&A moderator for today's session are Ellie Bacon, our Assistant Director of Certification and Capacity Building, and Gloria Owusu, our Small Business Program Manager. They will be monitoring the chat box and calling on attendees who would like to ask questions verbally. Next slide, please. For today's agenda, we will have a program overview followed by presentations from our city agency partners. We will also have a presentation from our DSBO Mentor-Protégé Liaison, Helga Grunrud, about how to successfully develop goals, which is a critical component of this application, so please tune in. And if I can just remind folks again to please mute yourselves and save bandwidth to also remain off camera. In addition to the agenda today, you will also get the opportunity to hear from our 2020 teams, PCL Construction and Select Building Group, and also known as Four-Star Drywall, here to share some great information about their partnerships, and then we will conclude with next steps and the timeline. Please feel free to input any questions that you have in the chat box. That chat box is up above there. We also welcome you to add any of those little emojis, hand clap, hand raise, hearts, thumbs up, just to show that we hear you and you like what we're sharing. You can also wait until the Q&A segment to ask your questions verbally. Next slide, please. All right, so for those of you that are unfamiliar with the Citywide Mentor-Protégé Program, I'll give you a little bit of background. Next slide. In 2018, Mayor Michael B. Hancock called upon all of the largest city agencies to come together to develop strategies to increase the utilization of small, minority, and women-owned businesses, particularly on our city contracting opportunities. He commissioned the development of the Business Equity Leadership Team, also known as BELT, to be comprised of the city's executive and senior leaders to focus on this effort. BELT has been working extensively over the last couple of years on various initiatives, including the development of a mentor-protege program. After nearly a year of internal and external engagements, that included focus groups and interviews with various municipalities, the Citywide Mentor-Protege Program was formed. In order to make this program unique to the city, select teams would be partnered with city agencies to gain more insight into developing skills to work on city projects. By including this extra layer of support through interactions with city staff, the program, it fosters an environment of greater understanding about what it takes to work with the city. We officially launched in 2020 with the selection of 6 amazing teams who, despite the challenges of COVID, were able to work together successfully with their city agencies. As the first year was a pilot, we were able to take in feedback from the participating teams and our city agency partners before we moved into year 2, which we're in now. The mayor and executive leadership were extremely impressed with the results of the program, as were we, and we recommitted to participating for a second round. We are very, very excited to be launching again. We've put in a lot of work towards this. We've taken a lot of feedback in from the community, and we are really looking forward to welcoming new or returning teams to this next year of the program. Next slide, please. And if you could just assist in muting, I hear some background noise there, please. All right, if you haven't already, I highly encourage you to review the program guide. There's a lot of information that you're going to need, including the specific requirements for both the mentors and the proteges. It also contains information about the roles of the agencies and of DSBO. All right, a lot of good information. You're going to want to look that over once, twice, 3 times. Before you apply, please take some time to get an understanding of the program and all that it has to offer and all of the expectations that we hope to have come out of this second year. It was attached to the attendee meeting invitation that you should have received, and it can also be found on our program website, which Gloria will place in the chat. This program, Citywide Mentor-Protégé Program, is for a 1-year duration, and there will be 4 teams selected, 1 per agency. As we continue to develop this program, we plan to include additional city agencies to participate so that we can have more teams. We understand that this is highly competitive. One critical piece that must be communicated is that participation in this program is no way affiliated with procurement practices or the award of any contract, nor does it guarantee the award of a contract with the city. I'm just going to repeat that one more time. One critical piece that must be communicated is that participation in this program is no way affiliated with procurement practices or the award of any contract, nor does it guarantee the award of a contract with the city. As such, firms should not apply or participate in the program if that is your sole and primary intent to contract with the city. We want this to be an invaluable, intrinsic partnership between 2 businesses. And in the event that a benefit such as a procurement happens, so be it, but we don't want that to be the primary intent of your participation in this program. I can't stress that enough. Furthermore, city agencies will not provide trade secrets or provide proprietary information related to procurements or procurement practices. And lastly, as an important note, this is a self-select program. The city will not be pairing mentors or proteges together. We are looking for you as business owners to do that. However, we will be providing some guidance there. Next slide, please. So here's a snapshot of the requirements for both the mentors and the proteges. There are also, these are also listed in the program guide, which again, you're going to go and take a look at later today. A couple of items to highlight. We want to make sure that mentors designate executive or senior level staff members who can obligate company resources to assisting their protege. Very, very important. Executive or senior level staff members. We made this a requirement because we wanted to make sure that proteges are fully supported by the leaders of their mentor company. They need that grassroots information on how they grew that company, how they are managing large teams, large projects, etc. For the protege, you must be actively certified as an MWBE with the City and County of Denver. I'll repeat that again. You must be actively certified. That means your certification must be up to date. If you have a renewal notice, you need to get that in. You must be certified with the City and County of Denver. We do not accept other certifications outside of the City and County of Denver for this program. If you have questions about your certification, please reach out to our team. We will put that information in the chat box as well. At this time, this is an MWBE program, but we are looking to expand it to other certifications in the future. And what that means is Hopefully for year 3, we will be expanding it to SBE and EBE certified firms. But as it stands for year 2, this is solely for certified MWBEs. Next slide, please. The application requires responses from both the mentor and the protege. You can either designate a point person or share a log of information to complete the application separately. But we are looking for you, the mentor, and you, the protege, to work on this together. A link to the sample application was included in the meeting invite, so you can prepare your answers ahead of time. I highly encourage that. Grab that sample application, work in that Word document, and so that when you're prepared to go in to the link, you have all of that information already put together with your mentor or your protege, and it's a seamless deal. So Gloria will also share the link in the chat. As you begin to fill out your application, please make sure your responses are clear, well thought out, and free of grammatical errors. So read it once, read it twice, have your mentor read it, have your protege read it. You guys are working on it together. Since this is a highly competitive program, again, only 4 will be selected. Your development plan must clearly demonstrate how you will work together to meet your goals. I also want to mention that agency assignments for the teams will be determined by the selection committee. So that doesn't preclude you from speaking about, what agencies you've worked with in the past or where you would like additional information, but our selection committee will be pairing the mentors and proteges with that specific city agency, i.e. DOTI, Denver Parks and Rec, DEN, etc. All applications must be submitted electronically through Zengen, which is our platform. Again, it's that link that you'll have. And the deadline is Friday, December 3rd. So again, while you have the applications that you can fill out outside of the platform, those applications must be submitted electronically through our platform, Zengen. And the deadline is Friday, December 3rd. No extensions will be granted. Next slide, please. So for those of you who are selected for the first year, you will be required to have quarterly check-ins with the DSBO Mentor Protege Liaison, Helga, which isn't really a requirement, it's a pleasure because Helga is amazing. And you will be required to attend all the events organized by DSBO and or the assigned city agency, which again, shouldn't be looked at as a requirement, but as a benefit, because these events are truly informational. These events include, but are not limited to, our welcome event with the mayor and executive leadership, a peer-to-peer networking event, and a year-end celebration. For teams that are accepted into the second year, you will have the opportunity to meet with and learn from other agencies involved in this program. Each quarter, you will meet with a different agency. You will also have check-in meetings with Helga twice a year to make sure that you're on track with meeting your goals. And then after your second year is complete, you will receive your graduate badge and certificate. And so that information, again, that I just shared is for your year 2. So if you completed as a participant in 2020, and you are resubmitting your application to go into that year 2, those were the benefits that I was speaking about, which is meeting with different agencies and having check-ins with Helga twice a year as opposed to quarterly. And instead of your participant badge that you get for year 1, you'll receive your graduate badge because now you've been in the Mentor Protege for 2 years, and you'll receive a certificate. So benefits for both just starting out in this as well as coming back for another year. You will also be invited to attend events organized by DSBO, like our CEI events, our Bridging the Gap. You'll have opportunities to potentially speak on one of our panels, so on and so forth. So lots of great exposure opportunities. Next slide, please. So I know that was a lot of information, but we want to make sure that you guys are fully prepared to move forward and submit your applications together. So before we get to the next section of our agenda, we will answer any questions that you have from the audience. Please use the hand raise function that you see up above, or feel free to type your question in the chat. So I will pause and let you all gather your questions and submit them. I don't see any in the chat box as a, oh, there we go. We've got a question from Chelsea. Feel free to unmute yourself and come on camera.
All right, give me 1 second. All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for doing this. I kind of just had a question. I've looked over the information. I'm just wondering how it would be best to go about approaching a larger company to partner with me and my company on this. For example, would it be better to, let's say I have a large GC that I already work with on numerous projects, or would I approach them, or would I approach it like if I'm trying to work at DEN, should I be approaching companies specifically that I've worked with there? I guess I'm just not sure how you would suggest, like what would be the best direction to go with all that?
That's a really good question. I can give you my thoughts, and Helga can also chime in, Gloria also. So I would think about, rather than, I guess you need to think about what your ultimate goal is. You know, where are you looking to grow within your company? Is it with regards to projects in accessing DEN? Is it with regards to your company structure, resources? You need to look at that first, and then understand of the primes that you have partnered with in the past, what you admire, for lack of a better word, about their company structure that you want to bring into your company. Okay. I would tend to stray away from looking at the agency and the primes that you work with there, because again, there's opportunities for you to understand better, you know, working at DEN by coming to our Bridging the Gap event and meeting key personnel there. More so focus on the prime contractor that you want to build a relationship with, and the information that you want to obtain for growing the capacity of your own company. Helga, would you like to chime in?
Yes. So I agree with what you said. Don't focus on the agency, because you have no guarantee you'll be assigned that agency.
Okay.
So your goal should be beyond that. Okay. But one thing I've learned in 4 years of doing this at CDOT and a year here is you will get through your goals faster if you find a mentor you have a relationship with.
Okay.
Because it takes at least a quarter, if you don't know each other, to really develop the relationships to get those goals going. Okay. So from what I've seen, I highly recommend looking at potential mentors you have a relationship with. You know their culture. Does their culture match with yours, etc.?
Okay, thank you. That's what I was thinking. I wasn't sure if I should branch out or go with a company that kind of had already taken us under their wing and that kind of stuff.
I mean, you certainly can, but it eats up a lot of time.
Okay.
If you don't know.
Thank you.
Great question. Let's see, Ellie, Ellie, do we have any questions in the chat?
We do. The first one is from Lloyd. It says, can an out-of-state office participate in the program with the primary office is located in Denver?
Lloyd, do you mind coming on camera and elaborating a bit more about that question? And if you're unable to unmute and speak about that, I think that's something that we're going to need to think about. Helga, do you have any initial thoughts about that?
Lloyd, it looks like you're still on mute. There you are.
Hear me now?
Yep.
Yes, we have a growing business in the Denver community, but we have a remote office that we'd like to participate. So I see a lot of activity requires face-to-face participation in greetings and meetings type events. The person probably will not be able to be there at every one of them, but we certainly would like to participate in the program.
Would you be participating as a mentor or as a protege?
Protege.
Let us circle back with you on that, because again, we really want to make sure that the leads are here to be actively participating in that. Helga, what were you going to add to that?
Okay, so the relevant thing that I can add to that is in the CDOT program, one of the proteges wanted to learn more about managing their equipment and whatever, and the protege's office in Denver was the main mentor, but they brought in their equipment specialist for a special meeting with the protege that proved to be very, very beneficial. So I know sometimes large companies have specialists in different regions, but I would say that, you know, if you can make a case for making that happen, but they're not the main thing that's doing, this was only for one goal that they had, that worked very, very well in that instance. So I think think about it and craft it carefully to where it makes sense.
Okay.
And if you have any questions, please reach out to us.
We will do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ellie, do we have another question that hasn't been already answered by Gloria? I think we've got a couple more minutes.
Yes, so Veronica asked, how many proteges is a mentor allowed to have?
How many, can you say that one more time?
Yes, how many proteges is a mentor allowed to have?
So we've discussed, really, again, it comes down to quality, not quantity. And it really depends on the resource and time that that mentor will be able to spend with their proteges. And again, what the goals are. I mean, because we're looking at the resources that you have with regards to coming to the meetings, quarterly meetings, and then also working one-on-one with our liaison, and then working one-on-one with your protege. So we would prefer that you stick with only one protege. But again, we would be open to you making the case as to how you would be able to handle more than one. I think two would probably be max. And then Helga, Gloria, would you like to add any input on that?
Yeah, I would say that the application only allows for one protege, but you know, if the mentor wants to take on additional proteges, they can do that. I think it's great, but for our specific program, it's just one mentor, one protege.
Yeah, and I would add that if they try to take on more than one protege, they have to have completely separate people for each protege, because you know, one mentor trying to take on two teams, I don't think that's fair. So, but I know some of these companies are big enough, they have enough people, and maybe people in different specialties, mentoring proteges in different specialties, they could probably pull it off.
Yeah. Okay, Ellie, next question. This will be our last before we move on.
Scrolling through the chat, it looks like all the questions have been answered.
Perfect. Okay, well, if any other questions come up as we continue through the presentation, please add those in the chat box. We will have a couple more Q&A segments. So let's go ahead and roll into our next presentation then. So now we're going to get introductions from our city agency partners who will be so wonderfully, we appreciate you participating in the second year of the program. This takes time and effort of our city agencies, and we are so thankful that they're on board to take on mentors and proteges and work within this program. So we will have a Q&A segment after all of the agencies have presented as well. So get your questions together and definitely tune in to hear about each of our city agencies. So to start us off, we will have Tanya Davis, the Business Development Manager with the Den Commerce Hub, here to present a bit more about Den. Take it away, Tanya.
Good morning. Thank you, Adrena. It's good to see everyone this morning. Next slide, please. So as mentioned, I am Tanya Davis. I'm one of the liaisons out at Denver International Airport, helping to manage the Mentor-Protégé Program out at Den. Just to give you some information in regards to our airport, we are the 7th busiest airport in the world and then 3rd in the U.S. Our annual economic impact is $33.5 billion. And at the Commerce Hub, we help all of you, the small businesses, to be able to connect at opportunities that we have out at Den in all the various areas. To show our org chart, of course, we have Phil Washington, who's our CEO. And then underneath Phil, we have Crystal De Herrera, who's the Chief of Staff. I want to point that out because that's where the Commerce Hub lies at, is under the Chief of Staff, under the direction of Andrea Albo, who's the Senior Vice President of Culture and Strategy. And then I'll let you all read the rest of the org chart. Next slide, please. So why are we doing this? We believe that the Mentor-Protégé program is an excellent program. It gives Den the opportunity to be able to train our mentors and our protégés in how to navigate Den, what's needed for Den, and then also to provide a platform for the mentor and protégés to have direct access to different types of managers, senior leadership, or anybody in between who can help them on their journey and to learn what special skills are needed. Also, we are doing this to be able to effectively communicate as well with the mentor protégé, with DSBO, and to be able to help to be that bridge. Next slide, please. So here we are again, our lovely pictures. So we have myself as the business development manager who will act as the primary liaison. We also have a new team member, Michelle Sandoval, who's the assistant director of the Commerce Hub, who will also play a part. And then lastly, Crystal Swain, who's our senior director and our senior leadership, who's involved in the Mentor-Protégé program. At any point, if you have questions, you can feel free to reach out to any one of us as you onboard as a Mentor-Protégé team. Next slide, please. So for the typical types of projects that you see out at Den, they can range from anywhere from 15,000 to 100 million. However, most of our projects that we let out at Den are over $1 million and up to $15 million. However, Den is working very hard at being able to roll out more small business enterprise opportunities. This allows the small business to have the ability to prime on projects. So we have many of these starting to roll out. For some of our stats, 255 million of total volume of work was awarded so far in 2021. 54 million of these total contracts awarded went to certified firms. And lastly, 21% of Den's volume of work awarded to certified diverse businesses. So with our leadership that we have right now, this is huge to be able to help the small businesses and to have them have the opportunity to be able to attain projects out at Den. Next slide, please. So what's needed out at Den? The biggest item that's talked about the most really our security background checks. Anybody who's working out at DEN must pass a 10-year background check in order to be badged, in order to be able to work on the air side or the land side, and also to be able to drive around the airport. So we ask everyone to be aware of this and to understand what that process looks like. But of course, as a mentor protege, we would be able to walk you through this. For our construction projects, it's important for our primes to go through the pre-qual process for any project that's over $1 million, and to also understand the bonding and the ROSIP requirements. Not all projects have ROSIP, but for those projects that do, to make sure that it is understood. And then also, as I mentioned before, if you are driving out at the airport, airside, that you need $10 million of auto insurance. And then also there are certain bonding requirements. For professional services, of course, there's insurance requirements and minimum qualifications that need to be met. There's a lot more that's needed in regards to working out at DEN, but we always like to highlight these 3 different items. Next slide, please. So I will pass it back over to Adrena. Thank you all.
Tanya, thank you so much. And again, thank you for your participation in Citywide Mentor-Protégé Program. All right, next up, we have Ms. Marcia Nelson, a Program Manager of Equity and Inclusion with the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure over at DOTI. So Marcia, take it away.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks, Adrena, and good morning to everyone. Marcia Nelson with DOTI. Just a quick statement. Want to put out there our statement and commitment to the Mentor-Protégé Program, with teaming with the other agencies as well as DSBO and the Mayor's Office. Our role, we want to serve and foster equitable public infrastructure and services, so we can do whatever we can to help build and broaden the base for our small, disadvantaged, minority and women-owned businesses here in Colorado. Our commitment really is to strengthen the long-term stability of those firms and help you become successful at the end of the day. Next slide. Our org chart, it has changed a little bit since our reorg, since we've had our interim director come in, Adam Phipps. If you've not heard by now, Adam Phipps has been nominated as the executive director for DOTI, and that was official as of yesterday, so it will go through council in that normal process. But really, here's just kind of a big picture of the entire organization. What we want to do in our process at DOTI is really give you an opportunity to access all of the administrations of our agency. So up here in the gray, you see our Office of Executive Director, our Project Delivery Administration, which is where you will probably be most of the time, and then of course our Operations and Utilities Administrations. Next slide. Some of the work that we do here at DOTI, many of you already know, so doing a lot of the graffiti work and removal, fleet logistics, street maintenance, traffic and mobility management, of course our capital projects, mobility and operational planning, and wastewater operations. Next slide. For us, we have 3 main focus areas. Of course, we are wanting to sit down with our mentor protege team and decide and discuss, what are your interests and where would you like to, sort of navigate within our organization. Training, providing tailored training that meet the business needs for both the mentor and the protege. A lot of times we get these big puzzles where we look at our business and we want to operate it well. So we want to make sure that we fill in those gaps for you so that you have a complete puzzle of how to be successful, not just within DOTI, but really with the city as well, since DOTI does work a lot with the other agencies. Guidance, I know firsthand how complicated it can be to navigate our agency because we are so large. So I'm wanting to make sure we help you in guiding, knowing where to go, who to talk to, the different administrations, divisions, and teams that we have within our agency. And of course, the networking, which I think is a great opportunity. And that's building the bridges between people. That's really how you become successful. Who are those relationships? They don't often change within our agency, but sometimes they do. So as long as you know kind of where to go and who are the right people, all the way from executive level down to our administrative staff, we want to make sure you guys have those networking opportunities. I think that's all I have. Oh, just kidding. In terms of main contacts, I will be the one working directly with the teams. And of course, this program within DOTI is sponsored through our Deputy Manager of Internal and External Affairs, who is Nick Williams. And that is it for me.
Thanks so much, Marcia. We appreciate your participation and the idea for us to have this informational session, so thank you. All right, next up we have Kent Sondergrath, Design and Construction Manager with Denver Parks and Recreation. Kent, thank you so much. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. I appreciate it. Again, my name is Kent Sondergrath. I'm the Design and Construction Supervisor with Denver Parks. Been with the department about 11 years, so I've seen a lot of changes with our department and continue to grow and continue to have more and more projects, it seems like, every year. So looking forward to hopefully getting some new fresh thoughts and perspectives on contracting with us and our design. So next slide, please. So just want to kind of go over what Parks and Recs, our vision statement, mission and goals are regarding equity within our parks. You know, our vision statement is that we're going to be the foundation for physical and environmental health of the city and its residents by using our resources creatively and wisely, in building sustainable public spaces, innovative programs, and neighborhood connections that are catalysts for community building and high quality of life for all our residents in Denver. And our mission statement is that we are stewards of our legacy of park systems that we have. Denver has one of the largest park systems west of the Mississippi. So we want to make sure to maintain that and improve it as we go. We're dedicated to customer service and enhancing the health of residents and the environment through innovative programs with safe, beautiful, and sustainable places. Next slide. So just a brief overview of our parks org chart and leadership team. You can see kind of there in the middle is Allegra Happy Haynes. She's our director. We have two executive directors underneath Happy, John Martinez, who oversees all of our recreation programs, and then Scott Gilmore, who oversees parks. That includes everything from operations of parks to maintenance, design and construction, golf, forestry, and mountain parks. So, and then you can see down below, there's a pretty large group of people there that all work underneath John and Scott, director levels. So next slide, please. A little bit about why we're excited to see the Mentor-Protégé program again this year. This is from Happy, our executive director. Parks and Recreation sees the Mentor-Protégé program as an increased opportunity to bring smaller companies into the fold and participate in our ever-growing diverse portfolio of projects. Our department is committed to helping small MWBE businesses grow and develop. The Mentor-Protégé partnership brings fresh new perspectives to the work that we do and how their companies can contribute to serving our communities. And that is something that, you know, we really believe in. We want to make sure we get some good firms in here that are mentors that have done work for parks or similar work for parks, and they can bring in some protege firms that really want to build and grow in what they're doing and give you a different perspective on working for parks or the city in general and this type of work. So I will be the primary liaison for the Mentor-Protégé program. Right now we don't have a secondary one, so I'm it. So next slide, please. Just some quick facts about Denver Parks. As I said, it's one of the largest park systems west of the Mississippi. We have over 6,000 acres of parks that we maintain, which is a little more than 250 parks. We also manage 14,000 acres of mountain parks, which includes Winter Park and areas up around Evergreen. We have 30 rec centers, so there's a lot of facilities work that needs to be done with those rec centers. There are 8 golf courses, including Evergreen and Aqua Golf. We also have 16 outdoor pools and 15 indoor pools, and over 90 miles of regional trails and 300 miles of walks and trails in our park. So we have a lot of walks and trails that need to be upgraded and redone as well. So you can see some of the pictures of our great walks that are in not so good condition. So next slide, please. Typically our projects are broken down into basically 2 groups: capital projects and legacy funds. Legacy funds was the 2A initiative, tax initiative passed a couple years ago. Annually, that brings in about $25 million to our budget, which accounts for between 20 and 30 projects a year. And those projects range from about $50,000 up to about $10 million, depending on what we're doing. That includes new parks, new buildings, renovations to those buildings, major renovations to parks and rec centers and facilities that we have. So there's a pretty diverse group of projects that we do within that. CIP and legacy funds. Next slide, please. Our next group of funding that we get is through the Elevate Denver Bond Program, and also we just passed the RISE bond last week, so that brings in even more funding to the bond programs. But right now, the Elevate Denver bond is $150 million over 10 years. Typically about 18 major projects that we're doing. 22 of those are rec center deferred maintenance projects, 46 neighborhood park projects. So those could be anything from full upgrades of walks, playgrounds, irrigation, native restoration, where we go in and take out some bluegrass and put in native grasses to help conserve water. And we generally get about $25 million per year through that bond program. Now with the RISE program, I'm not sure exactly how much it's bringing in yet. So that's still being worked out, but that'll still infuse even more funding into Denver Parks and what we're doing with the RISE bond. So next slide, please. So what's required to work for Parks and Rec? Pretty general stuff: insurance, commercial general liability for a contractor or consultant. You have to have $1 million limit on bodily injury and property damage, $2 million policy aggregate. And then automobile liability, both contractor and consultants, $1 million combined for both hired and non-owned city vehicle or non-owned vehicles used for services. Workers' comp and employee liability insurance, again for both contractors and consultants. Employer's liability with a limit of $1 million per occurrence, and then $1 million per occurrence for bodily injury caused by disease, and then $500,000 in aggregate for bodily injury caused by disease claims. So those are doing work with us as an on-call or something like that. Licenses just depends on the type of work being done. General contractor license, arborist, or applicators, depending on what you're doing within the parks work itself. So next slide, please. And that was all I had, so thank you very much.
Kent, thank you so much for your participation. Thank you for that presentation as well. All right, lastly, we have Sean Crump. He's our Vertical Program Manager with the Mayor's Office of the National Western Center, also known as NWCO. Sean, it's on you. And you might be muted.
That might help. Thank you. Thank you, Adrena. I appreciate it. My name is Sean Crump, and I'm the Vertical Manager with the National Western Center, the Mayor's Office of National Western Center, excuse me. And we call ourselves NWCO. So if you hear me refer to that, that's what that stands for. I'm also the Mentor-Protégé Program Liaison for our program. And today I'll give you a brief overview of who we are and our commitment to the Mentor-Protégé Program. Next slide, please. Milestones. It's hard to believe the city has been working on the vision and implementation of this program for nearly a decade. Shown here is a brief timeline highlighting major milestones of our program. Our journey started back in 2012 when the mayor committed to keeping the stock show in Denver. Since that timeline, we've been working on bringing the vision and mission identified in that 2015 master plan to life. The master plan is our guiding document to the 8 phases of redevelopment. We're currently under construction on phases 1 and 2. Fast forward to today, we are making great progress on our horizontal infrastructure, and we're about to debut our first new building, the Stockyard Event Center, at the 22 Stockyard in January. So make sure you get your tickets. Next slide, please. Awesome. Building a unique campus. We are building a unique campus, and it's truly a unique campus. Our previous campus was 110 acres, and our new campus doubles in size to approximately 250 acres. The campus will have year-round uses, establishing the National Western Center as an economic and cultural hub of our great city. Next slide, please. Partners and roles and responsibilities. Our partnerships are critical to the success of our campus. The Mayor's Office of National Western Center is tasked with overseeing the city's project. We're tasked with assisting with formation of governance entities, management of relationships with the project partners, and conducting projects underneath the direction of the mayor's guidance, in addition to our executive committee. The National Western Center Authority is responsible for programming, maintaining the campus for the next 100 years. Our partners at the stock show will build their legacy building on our campus as well, and will continue to host stock shows, Denver Fair, county fairs, and all-star rodeos for the future to come. And finally, CSU Spur is currently constructing 3 buildings which will focus on food, water, and health on our campus. Next slide, please. I won't go through the slides in detail, this slide in detail today, but I simply want to throw it up as a visual of what we're tasked to build. These are the campus assets identified in the master plan, which was approved by City Council in 2015. Next slide, please. Delivery infrastructure. There are hundreds of individuals involved with the construction on our program on this campus. We're led first by our Executive Director, Tychus Holloway. Our program management team is a blended team made up of city employees and consultants. We strategically divided the program into 2 portfolios. The horizontal portfolio, which focuses on things like roads, site work, utilities, and the vertical portfolio focuses on buildings. Within each portfolio are disciplines that we kind of give you a few examples here shown. Next slide, please. Why NWCO is involved with the Mentor-Protégé program? Well, the Mayor's Office of National Western Center is committed to ensuring that the residents, businesses, and the industry benefits from the investments being made in the Denver's infrastructure. We are genuinely excited to carry out the goals of the city and partner with DSBO to support developing our mentors and protégés as a part of this program. Next slide, please. Teaming up with NWCO, if chosen and selected by NWCO as a part of this program, we think it'd be worth your while. Our goal will be to share the complexities of the program and how to increase your knowledge with working with the city in this capacity. In addition to having access to our program teams, we'll be prepared to serve our mentor-protégé teams, or teams, if you will, and show up to share knowledge and learn from one another. We'll work with you to identify goals and outcomes at the start. We want the partnership to be mutually beneficial, from introductions, connections, to knowledge sharing. We believe in Mentor-Protégé program, and we truly look forward to the next parent. Next slide, please. Our NWCO Mentor-Protégé team, excuse me. I know I blew through that quickly, but I want to at least take an opportunity in closing to share our immediate team. Our immediate team consists of Allison, Karen, Melissa, and myself, and there are many more behind the scenes supporting our efforts and are ready to support you as well. That being said, we can't wait to get started. Thank you very much, and we'll hand it back to Adrena. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sean. We appreciate that presentation, you being here and participating in our program. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and move into the Q&A segment. So do the folks out there have any questions for our city agencies? We'll give you a minute to digest all that you just heard from all of our wonderful city agency partners. Now is the time to ask your questions, because you could have the opportunity to be paired with one of them. So I will go over to Ellie. Do we have any questions in the chat box?
We do not yet, but we do have a hand raise from Roxana.
Roxana, feel free. There, you got it. Go ahead.
Good morning. Oh, nice to meet you. So my question is in regards to size. So we're a pretty small business, and we got recently certified, and I mean recently in April this year, during COVID, which has not allowed us to network, directly. So we have not engaged on our first public contract with any of the agencies, nor do we have a lot of knowledge of persons or companies that we could partner with. So my question is more, and it's basically to get your advice, maybe from the agencies or from anybody who's available. So in order to benefit from the program the most, do you think we need to necessarily be a size or network more, or advance a little bit more? I'm just wondering about all these questions because we're very new.
Right.
So any feedback would be greatly appreciated.
That's a really good question, Roxana. I'm actually going to ask Helga to speak on that, because I know she's had that question before. Helga, are you there to speak on that?
I am. So I think there is a requirement, as I recall, that you have been in business a couple of years.
Yes, it's been for 5 years. So
okay. From what you were saying, I wasn't sure how long you had been in business. So again, I'll go back to the fact you saw what some of these agencies are requiring. My advice as a strategy to you would be to find a larger company, start building a relationship with them, and then pursue this program after you've developed somewhat of a relationship, and go through what these agencies presented in detail and see what will it take for my company to be able to work with this, because I'm speculating that a major company looking at you and seeing that you have 4, 5, 6 areas that you really need to work on, and they want to show successful mentorship, they're probably going to go with a company that has already tackled some of the requirements, and would be happier to take you on if you can show you know what the requirements are and you are starting to address those. That's just that's my input.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, and that's very great, and that's a great advice. And we do fit with all insurance requirements and and even I believe we could work. It's just that we lack the relationships, and because we got certified during COVID, we're just navigating this remotely, and it's been real struggle. So I'm wondering more of our capacity in regards to relationships and networking and knowing. So it's really great input. Thank you.
So have you joined professional organizations in the industry? I mean, there are a number of them, and that is an excellent way to develop relationships. And then going back to what you just told me, that you have insurance and whatever, start making a list of what you've achieved, what have you got in place. So when you start talking to a prospective mentor, you can say, I'm aware I need this, and this, and I've got that in place. And now I need to do XYZ. They're going to appreciate that you've done your homework, and you know what the requirements are, and now you want them to help you tackle areas where you don't have the experience.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Helga.
Roxana, if you'd also, if you'd like, we can send you a list of some of the organizations and associations that we partner with, like the Hispanic Contractors of Colorado, Black Construction Group, COMTO, which is the Conference of Minority Transportation Officials, and some others. That's a great place to start with networking and building those relationships.
That would be awesome. Thank you. I would highly appreciate that.
If you can drop your email in the chat, we'll send that information over to you.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, Ellie, do we have any additional questions in the chat?
We have one from Chelsea who asked what the minimum year requirement to have been in business is.
Okay, and Gloria, Helga, do either of you want to answer that?
As I recall, it's 2 years, 2 consecutive years in business.
Perfect. Got about maybe 1 or 2 more minutes. Do we have any questions for city agencies? Looks like we just had 2 pop up. So someone with their hand raised or went back down. Never mind.
We had one that popped up in the chat. And Terry, you may need to jump in and clarify. It says, please cover goods and services, non-construction.
Yeah, if you could elaborate a bit more on that, Terry. Feel free to unmute yourself. Are you there, Terry? Okay. Well, if you want to go ahead and elaborate in the chat box, or feel free to raise your hand and unmute. Otherwise, we are going to go ahead and move on if there's no other questions. Oh, it looks like you're having some technical issues. Terry, feel free to elaborate in the chat box, and then we can cover your question in the next segment. All right. Well, moving right along, we will now have a presentation from Helga Grunrud, our DSBO Mentor-Protégé Liaison. She has some wonderful keys to success for submitting a successful application. You'll definitely want to tune in and listen closely. She's got some great nuggets. So Helga, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, great. Okay, so first of all, I've been the liaison to this program for a year now, and so some of my suggestions come from what we've learned in this last year. So what do? I meet with the teams and agencies to finalize measurable goals. Because sometimes the goals you have, we're not quite sure how you plan to execute them, and I'll talk more about measurable goals later in this presentation. I meet quarterly with the teams to review their progress, amend goals, address concerns, etc. So again, here, know that your goals, I don't chisel them in stone, so we can change them if something comes up and you feel like you need to do that. I write the quarterly progress report and submit them to DSBO. I do troubleshooting, identify resources, etc., and I coordinate with agencies if needed. So that's kind of basically what I do. I'm not there to hold your hand or criticize, what you're doing. It's your goals, and I just try to help you get them done. Next. Okay, attributes of a good protege. I'm not going to read every single one of these, but since the program is geared toward capabilities, expanding your capabilities, you need to commit to that. And I think the most important one of all of these attributes is self-starter who takes personal charge of their mentoring. You, as the protege, are in charge of your mentoring. The mentor is not in charge of your mentoring. You need to know and be able to articulate to your mentor exactly what you need, what you want to do with your business. And if changes need to be made to your goals and whatever, you need to communicate that to your mentor, because you are in charge of your mentoring. You definitely have to be receptive to new ideas. able to accept feedback. Don't have a really thin skin in this program, because what you really want the most is feedback. And that feedback may not be something you want to hear, but you need to hear it. You need to apply what you're learning so that your mentor sees you're taking this seriously. And focus on achieving results and bounce back from mistakes and failures. We see that over and over again in these mentor-protege programs. There will be mistakes, there will be failures, but your mentor is there to help you overcome those. Able to communicate and work cooperatively with others. And communicate is a big part of this. Remain loyal to your mentors by maintaining confidence, and be enthusiastic about sustaining the relationship. So many of these relationships go on to last for many years. So when the official mentor-protege is done, your goal should be to still have that relationship with your mentor. Next. Preparing to be a protege. Know how the program works. And I think Adrina really hit on that. So I'll just go on with that. Make sure you meet the requirements. And she gave you a list of the requirements. Know the timeline involved in this. If your application comes in a week late, that's too bad. If you didn't get your certification in time to meet the deadline, that's on you. So know the timeline. The program's goal is to expand the capacity of minority and women-owned businesses. Make sure your goals align with that. And I'm going to harp on this over and over and over again. This program is to expand capacity. It's not about building a website. It's not about your LinkedIn presence, etc. Those don't expand your capacity. So make sure your goals align. And the information you got from the agencies is critical. Review that so that you know where you need to build your capacity. Assess your company before seeking a mentor. If you go to someone and say, what do you think I should do? They're not going to be eager to babysit you. They want to work with someone who knows what they want to do. Be able to articulate the goals your mentor can help you with. So again, they are here to help you achieve what you want to do. You can't land the best mentor until you explicitly map out your goals and expectations. Make sure you can dedicate the time and energy necessary to be mentored properly. There's nothing more discouraging for a mentor than a protege who suddenly doesn't have time to work this, because they have skin in this game too. Next. Identifying your needs. I encourage people to do a maximum of 6 needs, more than you can probably address in the program. Focus on the needs that will eliminate barriers to working on a City Denver project. And the agencies just laid out for you what their expectations are. So if you don't know what goals you should work on, read those pages carefully. You will eventually need to narrow down needs to about 3 or 4 due to time constraints. And select a variety of needs, because a potential mentor may have personnel to help you in one area but not in another. For example, they may have people who can help with marketing, but perhaps they just bought a new financial software package and now their finance team needs to work on getting that up and running, and they can't help you with that. So select a variety. Some needs, like income statement and balance sheet, could be combined to something like understanding financial statements. So look at that possibility too. Next. Okay, developing goals. Again, I just kind of said this earlier. Have fewer goals that you can pursue in depth rather than many that are superficially addressed. Focus on barriers to working on a city DEN project, i.e. bidding, cost containment, bonding, insurance, special certifications, safety, and not on things like a new website or a LinkedIn presence, because you can go elsewhere to get these. Your mentor's time is very precious, so make the most of it. And then stagger your goals. They don't all have to start in Q1 and end in Q4. Evaluate which goal will take the longest, is the most complex, and focus on that in Q1. Then continue with that and add 1 or 2 more in subsequent quarters. You want to get off to a good start and show some successes. Next. Some more thoughts on developing goals. Include the appropriate people for each goal. If a goal involves accounting and the protege has someone with that responsibility, they should be involved, as they have specialized knowledge and you need their buy-in. If you've got a financial person and you're not including them, don't be surprised if they're not really enthusiastic about helping you meet that goal. So include the appropriate people. Don't make goals contingent on winning a project. And Adrena really pounded on that, and I'm emphasizing that again. Because if you don't win that project, then your goals, you can't start on your goals. Know that goals can be changed. So should you win a project or something else comes up, you can change the goals, and there is no penalty for doing that. So we're very flexible with what works best to develop the protege and achieve their goals. Then think hard about what role would your agency play in building capacity, achieving your goals. An agency, as Adrena pointed out earlier, there are some things they can't share with you, do with you. So think about what role would your agency play? And they will be helping with evaluating the applications, and I'm sure we'll hear from them about what they can and can't do. Goals must be measurable. For example, mentor will introduce protege to their network. That is like so open, I wouldn't know where to start with that. Okay, it's too vague. Measurable, and again, this is very, very condensed. We would look for more details than this. Mentor will introduce protege to 2 individuals each quarter. That could lead to business opportunities for the protege. Protege will then meet with those folks individually and report back to mentor. So that is more measurable for when I visit with your team. And we're going to look at a few more samples of goals. Next. So a sample goal number 1, mentor to assist protege in setting up training in safety procedures. And again, I would want more detail than this. I'm just giving you some ideas of how to tackle this. So here, this is going to start in quarter 2, and it's going to go through quarter 4. They probably had something else that was way more important to start in quarter 1. So measurements, mentor safety director will review protege's safety manual in Q2 and provide input in Q3 regarding best practices, and will then review the revised manual. Mentor safety director will help protege identify resources in Q4 for safety training and will provide implementation strategies. So you can see that you are targeting different quarters and what you expect to happen in those quarters. Okay, next. Okay, sample goal 2, assist protege in understanding their balance sheet and income statements. And this one is going from quarter 1 through quarter 4 because it's quite complicated. And measurements would be, in Q1, protege gains in-depth understanding of how balance sheet and income statements are used by banks, insurance, and bonding companies. In Q2 and Q3, gain understanding of how operating decision impacts the balance sheet and income statement. For example, whether to buy, rent, or lease equipment, because all of those things impact your balance sheet and income statement differently. In Q4, examine how protege is applying lessons learned. So again, we would look for more detail than that, but I just want to give you some idea of how you allocate different activities to different quarters. Next. Some other thoughts. Gloria wanted me to give other thoughts. So the thing that I think is really important is to commit to a mentor-protege meeting schedule, put it on your calendar, and stick to it. The teams that are the most successful, have a schedule that that is, as sacred as having an anniversary dinner with your spouse or something like that. And I would put something like your plans to meet and work on this as part of your application, so we can see that you've really thought about this and how committed you are to making it happen. In conjunction with your agency, develop an engagement plan. So once you've been selected, or even before you're selected, give some idea of what kind of an engagement plan you expect to see. But if selected, you need an engagement plan so that people aren't just sitting there saying, well, I wonder what they want. For both mentor and protege, how will you share your participation in the program with others in your company and update them on your progress? This should not be just a relationship between two people. If as a protege, you're probably a small company. If your entire company does not know you're involved in this program, you need to work on that. They need to buy into what you're doing. And for the mentor, many of you have intercompany newsletters and whatever. Share what you're doing. You have no idea who out there might have a really important thought as to how these goals can be achieved. Okay, next. So those are my thoughts, and you're ready to go. You've got a mentor, you've got goals, and you've submitted your application, and we say good luck. Next. So any questions?
All right. Thank you for all of that great information, Helga. And yes, folks, if you need this information, we will be sending it out to everyone that's participated. So I will go over to Ellie. Do we have any questions in the chat?
Not yet. Terry did clarify her question, so I'm going to go back to that one while people come up with questions for Helga, if that's okay. I think it's clarified. So the question was, please cover good and services for non-construction. So protege for services, cleaning, etc., printing and advertising. So opportunities outside of the construction arena.
Okay, so I'm still a little unclear of what that question is. So I'm going to ask Gloria to clarify that with her in the chat.
Yeah. I'm thinking
then,
you're just looking for a mentor. I would just encourage you to apply. I mean, it sounds like if you've got a good mentor, it's definitely something that you want to go for. Just submit an application, we'll review.
Yeah. All right, we're going to go ahead and move to the next segment, and then if folks have questions, we can move that to the end. All right, so next slide, please. Now we're going to hear from our team testimonial. So one of our 2020 Mentor Proteges teams who will be speaking about their partnership and their successes. We have Vanna, project engineer with PCL Construction, and Jose Amaya, senior vice president of business development with Select Building Group / 4-Star Drywall. Thank you both for being here this morning, and we will go ahead and turn it over to you for your presentation.
Thanks, Adrina. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having us today. We are the 4-Star Drywall, Select Building Group, and PCL Construction Mentor Protege team. My name is Vanna Hosani, and I'm the MWBE liaison for PCL. I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Jose Amaya, the Senior Vice President of Business Development for Select Building Group. We can go to the next slide. And we are honored to be here representing this program and with the city agencies that help our home, the city and county of Denver, thrive. Through the course of our Mentor Protege program, we've established joint pursuits, both public and private work, in addition to the 4 goals like Helga was mentioning. Ours were successful submission of bids, hone in on cost estimating accuracy, create a safety and quality manual, and finally offer guidance around bonding, insurance, and legal issues to analyze risk to help build the capacity of our protege. It is our belief at PCL that we are here to build a community with our building partners and leave a legacy for many generations of future Coloradoans to enjoy. Jose will now run through the 4 goals and the successes that we had associated with each one. Thank you again to City and County of Denver, Marcia Nelson, with DOTI, Helga Grunrod, and of course, Adrina and Gloria for your support and continued guidance in the program. Jose?
Thank you. Well said. Very excited to be here. Jose Arnaldo Amaya. This is a win-win-win program for the city, PCL, and us as a small business. I can tell you that this program took us to the next level. What I mean by that is that what could have taken us 2 to 4 years to attain, this program made it happen. And like you heard from Helga, setting the needs and goals is the key. You need to understand as a small business what it is that you need. There are many things that you need in goals, but you need to concentrate on what's going to make you more successful in the construction industry. And that's how we came into this program. There was also a question on how to select that mentor. I would recommend that it will be that prime that you have a relationship with, that you feel comfortable, that takes care of you, and that will take this to the next level. I can tell you that for us, setting these goals, and it's like Helga stated, they're flexible. You start with certain goals, and then as you move through the program, you can determine that, oh, I actually need also this. You talk to the mentor and you get that going. One example was with the COVID manual. This just happened, came out of nowhere. We didn't have one. A professional company like PCL, they developed one. They were nice enough to share it with us. We brought it to the attention of our clients, and they were happy that not only did we have a manual, that we were taught how to implement the COVID-19 rules to keep everybody safe. For us, this program not only provided a mentor, a client, but also good friends with PCL. And that's been said over and over again. Even though our Mentor Project formal program has ended as of July 2021, PCL continues to be committed to our company by having bi-weekly business development meetings that have produced opportunities for us to work together. I can tell you that for us, a bonus out of this program was to win work with PCL, which we have. We have executed work with PCL successfully at the Monarch Casino, private client, another private client in Northern Colorado, Windsor. So very excited about those opportunities. And then one of the best was that we both participated and competed for the 16th Street Mall renovation project. And thanks to the city, we got awarded that project. So very excited. Not only we were able to put the proposal together, now we're working on the pre-construction, and then we'll get to execute the work together. So, I mean, imagine all the experience we're going to be gaining from this mentor. So very excited about this program. I do want to congratulate the city, this is a successful program. I'm glad that you're continuing to have this program for the following years. And for me, my advice to the mentors and the protege is put the time in. The more time you put in, the better the results. You got great people at the different city organizations that you heard from. They're very dedicated. They're very committed. For me and PCL, we had the fortune to work with Marsha Nelson. She was amazing. She helped us. Helga Grunrud being the facilitator. I've known Helga for at least, I guess, 20 years. She's just an amazing lady, very professional. She understands diversity, inclusion like no other. And of course, thank you to Gloria and Adrina for putting this program together. Very excited. Thanks for having us, presenting to the group. Very successful program. Get involved, make it happen. It works. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Vanna and Jose. We really appreciate all of your wonderful stories and you're sharing some of your advice to our attendees. And thank you so much for being here today. It was wonderful to see all of your achievements. And I mean, I'm just so proud of this dynamic group that you guys came together and all of the wonderful pieces that are coming out of it. So again, thank you for being here to share that information and congratulations. All right, we're going to move over the Q&A. We'll leave that for the very end in essence of time. So in terms of next steps, as mentioned, the deadline for applications is Friday, December 3rd, after which our selection committee will evaluate all completed applications. The length of the review process will be dependent on the number of applications that are received. We do expect to have a decision made in January of 2022 with the formal announcement in February of 2022. Next slide, please. So here's a list of the Mentor Protege implementation team. If you have any questions about the program, please reach out to Helga and Gloria, who can assist with whatever it is that you have questions about. So as a reminder, all of the program information can be found on our website. Please go and check that out. We've got a big button there that says Mentor Protege, and you get all of the resources that you need. I want to just take a moment and see if there's any questions that we can answer within the next 10 minutes. I know this was a lot of great information. So thank you to our city representatives and thank you to our 2020 pairing that came and spoke with us today. So I will just take a moment to see if we have any questions. You can use your hand raise function. Otherwise, we can answer those questions in the chat. It doesn't look like there's any except for the website. So, all right, we'll go ahead and conclude today. So thank you all for attending this morning and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.